You are listening to Lovesick, the podcast, where we dive into health, wellness, and relationships and their impact on the world. Come be a part of the discussion and join our community by following us on YouTube, Instagram, and listening wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Enjoy the show. Hi, you've reached the Lovesick podcast. We're doing a very special episode today, and we're so excited that you guys are all here. I'm Jada Ford. With me, I have
Dorothea.
and
the other guy, Michael Fishman.
And today we are going to talk to moms who, want to share their stories, want to talk about motherhood. And I'm going to tell you right now, as a mom, there's a lot of stigmas, but also a lot of things that we have to be perfect at and we have to abide by. And, I just want to break these down. And I'm so happy to have the woman that brought me here. But from a patriarchy standpoint, Michael's here too, because I think
Whoa. Don't put me as a patriarchal place. I'm here as a support structure. I'll be the masculine voice maybe, but not patriarchal.
Okay, fair.
I'm going to root for a matriarchal day on Mother's Day.
Okay, fine. Okay, again. No, I'll keep it. It's great. So we invited a couple moms here from different backgrounds, different walks of life, and we want to have a conversation about being a mom and raising kids and doing this shit. So I'm glad you're here. Stay tuned. It's going to be an amazing episode, and we're doing it. So
awesome.
Listen and enjoy our special episode.
Enjoy the show, guys.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks for having me, Jada and Dorothea and Michael. My name is Mina Lee Hamburg. My initials ML is kind of my maiden name initial, so I kind of keep it that way. So I have 3 little kids, a young daughter who's 2 years old, and then a 5-year-old son and a 7-year-old son. And our kids, my older ones, go to the same school as Jada's kids. And I think motherhood, obviously as a first-time parent, I didn't know what I was doing. And yet, like, third time around, I still don't know what I'm doing because every child is different. And I think what I've learned thus far is, time equity is really important. As much as you can get a better paying job and such, the time that is just so finite is what I've been realizing. And it's just been I don't know, this year has just been a stark realization for me where it motivates me in the morning. Like, okay, you're tired, you're exhausted, but you got to get up and keep going because this is all going to pass super fast. And you just chug coffee, chug wine, whatever works for you. So I guess this year for me in the last year has just been like refresh to go back out there again is really important. If I'm not refreshed, if I'm not in shape or just mentally or emotionally, it does so much, there's so much impact. And I think I never thought that before. And so I think, I'm talking to other moms and we all kind of feel the same, like in the sense that everyone needs to take a time out a little bit, even for a couple hours for themselves, just to have a quiet moment. I think that really helps with just getting back in the motion of things again. So that's my latest for all of you.
I love that you said time because
Right.
I feel like we don't address time sometimes, where it's like we're just like, what do you need? What can we help you with? It's okay. It's all about you. And then I'll find that time at some point between the time you go to sleep and the time that I go to sleep, I guess. And it's like a minute. So I love that story. For sure.
I like the part where you said that you didn't know what you were doing when you first had your kid, but then when you had the other kids, it was the same. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people probably wouldn't admit to that, but each kid is different. So I can see how you would actually feel that way. And I'm sure it's other moms that feel the same way.
And I'm going to say I love the fact that you mentioned the realization of how fast it goes. Mm-hmm. Because having been an empty nester, I have one that just came back for a little bit, but like having been an empty nester for a short window after, 20 something years of raising kids in the house. Yeah, I miss those days, which probably sounds crazy as you're outnumbered 3-1, but it's beautiful. So to be able to celebrate it, I think is so important and so wise and so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Jen, I mean, Jen, you had a kid that went to college recently too, and so
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah. Well, my name is Jennifer Block, and I have a just turned 21-year-old yesterday,
Wow.
and a 16 and a half-year-old. So, I've been in the game for a little bit, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really change. One of the things that I think is so interesting is how the need is the same but different. Like they needed me when they were little in certain ways. And I thought, okay, well, when they get older, they won't need me as much. They need me just as much. They
Yeah.
they just need me in different ways.
Yeah.
And
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry. Is your 16-year-old a boy or a girl?
I have two boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have two boys, and that is a whole journey itself. I'm a boy mom. So and I have very different boys. My 21-year-old is a very quiet, cautious kid. He's the indoorsy computer type. He's gonna hopefully build some video games and change the world digitally. And my 16 and a half-year-old pole vaults for a living. So, he literally flies through the air
Wow.
and professionally falls. So, very, very different children, but they need me in the same ways. And getting to go on that adventure with them is something that I do not take for granted. I always knew that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I was 25 when I had my oldest son, and I made that a priority for myself. And then when my youngest son went to kindergarten, I put him on the bus and I thought, I've had a child underfoot for 11 years, 24 hours a day for 11 years. I've had a child right next to me. And I thought, I'm going to go party. I'm going to go find myself. I'm going to just take a nap or something. And I stuck him on the bus and I watched the bus go away. And I called my husband and I said, I think I just lost my meaning for life. Like,
Oh my gosh. I
don't
bawled
know
my
what to
eyes
do
out
with
when my daughter got on the bus for the first time.
Yeah,
I
I
literally
cried.
bawled my eyes out. Like, where'd she go?
oh no.
I absolutely cried. And one of the things I heard the other day, which was just the saddest thing I've ever heard, is you spend 18 years with your child. The first 17 are consecutive, and the last one is for the rest of their life or rest of your life.
Oh,
And
I like that, Jen. I like that.
it,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I try to be, especially now that they're trying to figure out their purpose, I try to be very focused on my time with them and make sure that even though I am learning how to be a completely different person now that I have a child that's out of the house and I'm working for the first time in 20 years,
Wow.
I'm still trying, and I'm still trying to figure that out. When they need something, I try to make sure that the world, for them at least, stays very small. And we encourage each other, but it's all a journey, and we're still learning.
Right.
Yep.
I have a question, ladies. When you I'm thinking about back in the day when I had Jada.
Wasn't that far back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, back in the day, honey, because her birthday is coming up too.
Be 25.
Yeah,
Go
right.
ahead.
But have you ever felt guilty, like, going to work or just leaving your kid? It's like you knew that you wanted to stay home, and then you said, "Oh, I just want to go out and do something," but then you felt guilty once you got out there. Did anybody else
I
experience
did.
that?
I did. When my daughter was a baby, when my husband and I were still married, I was the breadwinner of the two of us, so I worked. He worked as well, but I had to work because my money was paying the mortgage and majority of the bills. But
Mhm.
I had friends that were stay-at-home moms, and I would see their pictures on Facebook, like building and doing this or doing crafts today. And I would feel so guilty that my daughter wasn't getting that bonding with me.
Right.
And yeah, that would upset me a lot. I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Of course, I didn't know that several years later I would be having a massive stroke and became stay-at-home mom. I just didn't have a left side that worked, but which was okay with me because she was 3 when I had the stroke.
Mm.
But I'm happy, and especially now her being a teenager, I really like being a stay-at-home mom. So I'm here when she comes home and she has projects, or when she, teenagers are sneaky, and this one that I got is extra sneaky. And she wants to try and get off the bus and go somewhere down the road that she's not supposed to see a friend that I don't agree with. And no, ma'am, mama's home. And I'm going to sit right outside on that porch and watch you.
Wait, can I go back to when you said you had a stroke? Can we please talk about that for a moment?
Ma'am.
Because
Definitely.
that is a big turn of events, right? And having a child, a young child. I mean, I know at this point it's been a while for you, so you've already had to deal with these hurdles and gone through it. But what was that entire experience like? And then you're staying at home with your daughter during this?
Well, okay, so after the initial stroke and I had got out of neuro ICU and recovery hospital, I was staying with my mother until I recovered enough to walk and felt independent enough. And then once my Social Security and everything was taken care of to where I had an income, I went ahead and got an apartment for her and I, which we were on the 3rd floor, and I was carrying groceries up the 3rd floor like a boss. But it was fine. I mean, I pushed myself hard for her because I knew that I still had to be a mom regardless of what happened to me. And I feel like that showed her how to be strong as well. But yes, I pushed very hard for her. Wow. And she learned to help out others at an early age because she had to help me with several things. Mommy needs this and mommy needs that. I didn't want to make her feel at all like she was responsible for everything for me, but she learned to be helpful, and I think she did okay. I mean, it was definitely hard, but I pushed through.
Were you a single mom during this whole moment?
Yes, because her father and I divorced. Probably it was about 2 years prior to the stroke. The hardest part, I think, for my recovery, though, as well, this is totally off subject, but her father was remarried before I had the stroke as well. And them two got together and decided they were going to fight for custody of my child, since they would use the stroke as, oh, well, she's incapable of taking care of her. And this was a fight that I have never seen in my life, and I could sit here and explain it to you all night long and you wouldn't believe me. It's something you would have to watch on Lifetime. Seriously. I always feel like people don't believe me when I tell the story of them trying to fight for her. And I mean, I would get emails coming from her father in his email name saying, you need to treat my wife with respect. She goes to the park with Aubrey and she's able to run around with her and swing her in both arms and play and this and that.
Gosh.
I mean, and I'm sitting here my whole life has changed. I'm 30 years old learning how to walk again, you know? It was very tough, but I had to do what I had to do. I'll tell you one thing, I found God after all that.
Yeah. I tell you one thing, in my opinion, you're a strong ass, kick ass woman. That's what you are.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am.
indeed. Yeah. I'm
And
not,
that's what your daughter is going to see. She's going to look back on that
yes,
time period and see how much you fought to have her in your life.
Yeah.
I hope
And
so.
I mean, she'll grow up and, be kind to people and be patient with people and help out with people
well,
and probably see things that other people don't see.
Yeah,
But she will also carry that with her, that you fought to have her in your life.
yes.
Yeah.
I hope she
You speak to a
does.
lot of the resiliency to just what you've shown her. I think we often see kids,
yeah.
like, what we get nervous about is, will they be resilient children and resilient adults? And I feel like in this experience that you went through, that she watched at a young age at the same time, I feel like there's reflection in that, and there can be building a foundation of resiliency for her. I mean, you're so strong to have gone through all of that. I commend you for that. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Yes, thank
Me
you.
too.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Oh,
And
my
I'm pretty
goodness.
sure during that moment, during that journey, you were probably, I'm sure you were scared. And like you said, you were going through the fight of your life.
Oh,
Only
yes,
with what you were,
terrified. And my mental state was so,
yeah.
all over the place. And it just, I remember at one time the emails got so ridiculous. And it might have been after that specific one that
Mm.
my sister said, forget this, Elisa. I'm taking over your email account. I'll read through these because a lot of this is nonsense and you don't need to reply to any of this. So she took over a lot of the emails for me so that I would stop reading them,
Mm. Because you're
which,
trying to recover and you're getting all this negativity, and when you're trying to recover, and
exactly,
it's like they're basically kicking you when you're down.
Ugh.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
But look at you now, girl.
Yes, girl.
Yeah, I am definitely doing it now.
Say they may have tried to kick you down, but God brought you up, honey. That's
Yes.
for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hello, Anne. How's it going? You pick up your son?
What's that?
I'm here. I'm waiting for him. He's like, I'll be out in a minute,
Oh.
which usually means like 10 minutes. So,
Do you want to introduce
so
yourself, Anne?
I'm Ann. I am actually recently single mom. I was in a 21-year relationship.
Wow.
My son is actually adopted. We had brought him into our life about 13 years ago. Talk about a lifetime movie. So pretty much I was in a very bad relationship and I ended it. I got divorced about 2 years ago, but couldn't get away from him. The last 2 months I had to get a PFA on him, protection order, which is a protection order. He actually tried to end our lives when I kicked him out of the house.
Oh
Oh
my
my God.
gosh.
Yeah, so he rigged the water heater to blow up so he could essentially end our lives and get the insurance money.
Oh my
Wow.
That
God.
is some lifetime shit right there.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
yeah.
That is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been dealing with all that. My son is 17. Here he comes. He's 17. He had to experience a lot of that. And I know we go through our life saying, I would do anything for my kids. I go to jail for my kids. I would die for my kids. But I think what I started learning was that would you live for your kids? Would you end a 21-year relationship for your kids? Would
Mhm.
you realize that something is so toxic and bad and you're so unhappy and miserable that you would end something like that? And I kind of always had this opinion that a father around, he needed a father figure, and having a father around, because I think we get a lot of pressure like, oh, you need a masculine, you need a male figure, especially, I'm raising a boy, a 17-year-old boy. And so I struggle with that. It was kind of like, well, I'll be miserable and deal with all the abuse and stuff because, it's not affecting my kid, it's affecting me. And if I'm unhappy, that's fine. And then it just got to the point where there wasn't stuff that could stay behind closed doors. It was affecting him. And about 4 years ago, it became very apparent. My mom had cancer. I was living in Georgia. I came up north. And when I went back, my son was like, I don't want to be here with him. Like, I want you to leave. And that was really hard because, you know, I've been in a relationship for so long and I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm trying to figure that out, how to get out. And I realized he had been exposed to, you know, kids are not stupid. And he was getting older. And my ex was not keeping things behind doors and actually trying to pull him into the arguments, the conversations. And I'm like, it's not worth it. And I'll tell you the biggest thing, I had to let go of that ego of like, well, I'm taking, because, you know, he would do a lot of like very manipulative stuff like, oh, you're going to take my son from me. Oh, you're going to split up our family. Oh, you can't do it on your own. That kind of stuff. And I'll tell you the biggest, yeah. And the biggest healing part, I think that one, as I had to put my ego aside, like, and realize like, this is affecting my kid. I didn't make the best choice staying. This is not working. Like, it's okay for me to be happy because how am I being the best mom if I'm walking around on eggshells, if I can't get out of bed because I'm depressed, if I'm being both mom and dad, because a lot of times I was the sole provider. And then when I actually moved to Georgia, I quit a job that I had for 12 years. I was an office manager for a multi-million-dollar company. And I gave all that up. And that's when it got really bad when I went to Georgia, because then he had complete control financially. And he used that to essentially keep me there and to do the abuse. So for me, it was like, I had to realize that was the wrong choice, you know, and I had to get past that. And then I think what the biggest thing with my healing with this is that I realized that it's easier to single parent now because I was already doing it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I was already doing mommy and daddy. I doing mommy and daddy, they're like, I'm not able to give 100% mommy because I'm also doing daddy. So he was getting half daddy, half mommy anyway. And then I was even worse than that because I was essentially having to parent this grown man and take care of him. So the biggest thing was like,
probably miserable the whole time.
Oh yeah, I was absolutely miserable. I mean, like, I love being a mom. It's the only thing I ever wanted in my entire life. As far back as I was little, like I remember dressing in like my little leotards for dance and stuffing my belly with like clothes and going downstairs and be like, I'm pregnant, I'm gonna have a baby. Like I always
I remember you doing that.
my poor dad, you know, like he would what? You know, I'm like 7, 8 years old, like I'm pregnant, I'm gonna have a baby, you know. So like, you know, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but then I had to work all the time and I'm working 50 to 60 hours a week. And then I'm coming home and I still have to run the errands, let the dog out, feed the dogs, take care of my child, go over homework, make dinner, you know, clean up the house, do the laundry, get him ready for bath and hair washes and bedtime. And it was like every day. And then on the weekend, it was like I had to run errands, but also still put in time because I didn't get to see him all week. So you know, I couldn't get him on and off the bus. It was like all these things I was missing. And so like now with him gone, it's like I have more time because I'm not being mommy to a grown man too. Yeah. Like I don't have somebody that I'm like doing all this. So I feel like it makes me a better mom. You know, me and my son have gotten closer. You know, we were very, very close. And for like the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, he had like actually interceded into that relationship. And then I was feeling horrible because it got to the point my son didn't even want to come home, you know, and I'm like, and I understand he's a teenager anyway, he's 17. So like, it's like, well, you know, I knew that was what was going on. And I think like, especially the last year, it was weighing on me. Like, I'm like, we don't have mommy and son time together. Like, my son doesn't feel comfortable talking to me because he's always around. Like, we can't, they had no connection at all. Like, they just,
Yeah.
there was no bond. And it was like all this awakening. Like, I had to do some really deep shadow soul stuff, you know, and just pretty much revamp how I saw stuff, how I've been conditioned, you know, what the outside world told me I needed to be as a mom. Because in my soul, I just felt like I wasn't being 100% of the best mom. And that I didn't need to be daddy and mommy. I just need to be mom. And that was good
Right.
enough.
Right.
That was
Right.
more than enough. So why have somebody who's not doing the role? You're now taking that time with a grown man being their mommy, you know, because that's what they expect, plus being mommy to a teenager. And then you're doing daddy too, because you feel like you have to do that role, you know? And so for me, it was like, once I got him out, I was like, I felt like I could breathe. I can't
Right.
explain. Like, the house was literally, the air didn't move. It was just thick and it was weighted and it was heavy.
Oh
And
gosh.
even all this stuff, and like, I mean, I was having PTSD. Like, I'm not gonna
Oh, I'm
kid you.
sure.
Yeah.
Like at night, I would wake up and start walking the house in the dark, like checking all the doors. Like, it was bad. But like, we're at a point where, you know, he's working, I'm back to working. Like, we're making the schedule work. We're having conversation. Like, he's home. Like, he
Right.
wants to be home. Like,
Right.
when he gets off work, he's like, "Oh, mom, this happened or that happened," and we're having conversations about our day. And I'm just like,
That's great.
I have like that point where I'm like, I wish I would have done this sooner, but I'm
Right.
glad I did it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Listening to your story, it was almost like your son was your savior.
Oh
because
yeah,
because if you think about it,
Hmm.
what do you feel that your situation would be if he didn't speak up?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would have gotten to that point either which way. I mean, it was to the point that I was like, once he's 18, I'll just wait till he's 18 and off to college, because
Yeah.
he's going to college and it's his choice. And that's what he wants. He already has what he wants to do. He wants to teach elementary school. So like, I was just like, I just gotta, you know, I was like, countdown, I was like 3 more years, 2 more years, like, you know,
Just
a year and a
do it.
half. And it just got to the point I just couldn't. I'm like, if all I have is a year and a half until he goes off to college, I want this last year and a half to be able to spend every moment in the best way possible. Like, I want to be able to spend that time to make him a functioning adult. So like, he can go have relationships, he can have good friendships, he can, you know, be in a good state of mind, in a good place, you know. He's very loving and kind, and he's very empathetic. So I know he was getting to the point he was worrying about me, like how I was doing. Like, after everything happened, he was always like, "Mom, are you okay?" Like,
Oh,
you know, constantly checking on me, messaging me,
right.
"Hey
Yeah.
mom, are you good? Hey," you know. And I'm like, I'm the parent. Like, let me parent, you know. So I now get that time back. Like, if I had stayed, and I always said, like, I'm just the moon. I orbit around him. He's my world. Like, I don't remember what it was like without him in my life, to be quite honest. Like, I can't even tell you who I was or what I was or anything else. He changed my entire life. He changed who I am. He made me work on healing past childhood traumas, even to get through this. Like, it was like, I'm going to heal because I'm not supposed to be treated like this. He shouldn't be exposed to this. He shouldn't be treated like this. This is not right. I need to heal whatever is in me that's allowing this, and I need to cut it off. So like, he's just my everything, you know. And I didn't want anything that would mess up his future either, because, you know, it was affecting his school, it was affecting his social life, it was, you know, he wasn't coming home and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm done with it. I'm not going to spend another 18 months, you know, because he's a junior right now. I was like, I'm not going to spend another 18 months till he goes off to college. So, yeah, I mean, I can't even tell you what my life was like without him. I mean, he changed my world in every way. He taught me patience. He taught me, you know, understanding. I feel like he gave me superpowers, you know, because when you're a mom, it's like all of a sudden these crazy senses, like you'll know, you'll be like, what are you getting into? And they'll be like downstairs, and you're like, I know you're getting into something. Like, or like, you know, if they're like not feeling well before, you know, you don't even have to take their temperature. You'll know if they're not feeling well. Like, you'll know if they're not doing well, if something's going on. Like, I just, I feel blessed. Like my shirt says, strong women raising strong children.
Oh yeah, I like
I
that.
love that.
But
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
like, you want to show them what a strong man is and being in a strong relationship is. And I think, you know, having, I also have a boy. It's like, I also want to make sure, like, I want you to be not the man that, like, someone else's daughter's healing from, or,
Right.
you know, or having to get over in a way that they were affected negatively, because it's like, I want to raise you to be a stand-up kid. And if you see things in my own relationship that are
Yeah.
reflecting ways that I don't want you to be, but I'm still doing it, that's not a great message, right? So I commend you for.
Yeah. It was like, well, if that's going to be the example, then I'd rather no example.
Right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'll say this as the male in the room is like, the truth is, in an ideal situation, you'd have both parents and you'd have a really strong masculine and feminine example. Two healthy parents is ideal. But if they're not healthy, or one of them is not healthy, you have to get to a point where you don't want to just let the damage be done, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes we hold on so long. You know, I was a single parent where and had a child whose mom literally left the state about the same age as your son. And that's such a dynamic. But I also think that the one thing that is interesting is, I think as a guy, people ask you if you need help.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, as a
Yeah.
mom, I think people just expect you to go to work, and even if you're the breadwinner, go to work, lead all these things, and then still come home and take all these areas. You know, you got to be the lead on cleaning, and the lead on cooking, and the lead on planning, and the lead on scheduling, and the lead on care, and the lead on nurturing. And I think we do moms a disservice at times. I think we underestimate that. And you said something about, what I heard was female intuition. Moms have this intuition. You know, as good as I like to be as a dad, I think there's something special about a mother's intuition.
There is definitely something to that. You know, whether it's just because you are so focused on your child, or if it is a biological response to your child. I've had many times where I have said, I'm sorry, just my mom alarm is going off.
Right.
I don't know what's happening. And I will, now that my kids are older, I will say, I don't want to pry, and you do not have to tell me, but this alarm is blaring. So I feel like I need to ask you, are you okay? And it
Right.
is okay if you are not okay. And when my oldest son was little, I took him to the doctors and I said, this is going to sound bizarre, but there's nothing wrong with him, but just every ounce of my body is screaming there's something wrong with him. And they tested him, he had the flu, and he said he's got the flu by this much. But there's definitely something to that. And it's amazing that, Michael, you say that, people ask you if you need help, and because you're a dad, and they expect that you can't, like, you've got your set of responsibilities, and you've got the set of responsibilities that would traditionally fall on a mom. Nobody ever asks a mom if they need
Nope,
help.
they don't.
No.
And I'm the first one to admit it. And the funny part was, I was doing mom and dad stuff. I mean, there's a lot of, especially my daughter going off to college, there's a lot of conversations that dad did not want to have. There are a lot of biological conversations. There's a lot of like medical conversations. Like, And I used to joke with her. I'd say, look, I don't want to have this conversation any more than you want to have it. But the truth is, I love you, so we have to have it, right?
Right.
But I always was struck by trying to find good, strong female voices to share with her, and have strong women in her life and look for opportunities. But it was not lost on me that at times people would be like, do you need help? And I've known plenty of single moms, and I never heard anybody ask them that question.
No,
Yeah.
they
I think
just,
people
they just,
assume to take on that mental load is an assumption that moms need to take on, or it's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
And then there's like, you know, I have just challenges with the social systems as to like how other countries help in economic ways and through community and other, just other way in building an ecosystem where, they can focus on the child and they can focus on themselves to make that connection. But then here in the States, we have all these things that, we have bills to pay, we got to work, we got to do 2 jobs, we don't, daycare is a lot of money and all this stuff. It just compounds. And then you have the mental load of managing everything at the same time with the job, with, other things you have to take care of. So I feel like it's not talked about enough, and it can really drive somebody crazy. I mean, it could really drive somebody, just not well. I mean, it is so degrade, you can really, really erode your body
Right.
with just so much.
That's
Can I
actually big because it's you said the thing about the working moms and then the stay-at-home moms, and I know all of us had our different levels in that space. I know, Jen, you were a stay-at-home mom for a while, and it sounded like you were, but like as a working mom, it's we're the stereotype is like, right, you're negatively affecting your child whether or not you are the working mom or the stay-at-home mom. But if you're the stay-at-home mom, you're not really working, which they
Yep.
say. I know it's bullshit, believe me, but it's like, and
'Cause
then
that's a job.
that
I
is
don't
a
care what they
job.
say.
It's a job.
But even
It's
but
a
I'm saying,
job.
but that's what I
That's a
mean. That's the
damn job.
stereotype. It's like
Yeah.
you get to be home with your kid. It's like, yeah, have you had a child or 2 or whatever? And then it's like when you're working, you're coming back home and then still working and being the mom when you come back home, right? It never, none of this ever ends. And it's a whole thing where it's like, but society, like we have a whole job to do as mothers because this is our job. We're by nature, we are supposed to be the ones that are doing all the things. And sometimes, look, sometimes we have to.
Right.
Just saying that right now. Sometimes we have to be the ones that are doing it. But it's,
Mhm.
it's a lot of pressure on us.
I think a lot of it's like, we need to change the way society is, because it's like, if you're a mom, you just have to, you don't have the choice to just walk away. Like, that's like frowned upon. Like, you can't just, it's like, it's just expected of moms. Whereas like dads get, oh, you're in your kid's life, you're a single dad. Oh, attaboy. Like, it's because it's such a different extreme. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's like we have to be there for everything and do everything. We got to be nursed, we got to be cook, we got to be, all these things. And it's just expected to do this. And the truth is that, we live in a society where it's just like, that's how women are looked upon. Like, it's just part of who we are. We're expected to do it all. And so, if a guy walks away, we still have to be there. If a guy decides, I don't want to be a dad anymore, which is essentially what his dad did. He just cut him off completely. He's had no contact with him by his own choice. They do that. And so like, that's why we never get, it's like so like embedded that guys can just walk away, men can just walk away, that when you do see a man who, a woman runs off and a man's there and taking care of his child full time and is very active, it's like, oh, you're like, oh my gosh, like,
Right.
rarity. And I think that that is the biggest disservice. We need to get to a point with society where it should be equal. Like, a guy should it shouldn't be so surprising that a guy walks away and doesn't do anything, and then it's just left on the woman too. That it's not like, oh my God, you're a good dad, like, oh, like, and I'm not saying anything bad, but like, it's sad that that's where it is, that like the praise that's given to guys, to men, when they are a good father, when they are doing everything, when they are single fathers that are raising their kids completely, because there are women who just aren't good mothers. I mean, not every woman who's a mother is a good mother. I've seen that firsthand. But at some point it seems like nobody's talking about that. Like, why is there such this divide? Why isn't like, okay, well, it should be expected as much of the father to be a full father figure and be there in the kid's life and pulling their half as much as a woman. Why should that
I'll
just be?
second that. I think it's 100% true. I think, and I don't know that there's something that has been habitual in large portions of society where men have not been held to that same standard, or men have been held to a standard where, and this is something that drives me nuts, is if you support or invest financially, that's enough. And we all know that that's not enough, right? And we all know that kids need healthy input. The truth is, kids need healthy input from lots of people, not just their parents, right? We need a healthier society, and we need an expectation that men and women are going to be heavily involved with the children that they bring into the world or accept responsibility of. I have this thing of, I never make any kids I didn't want. I don't make any kids that I don't plan on raising. It's just kind of like, it's an automatic for me. It's also this very unusual concept, though, that we have this expectation, I think, for moms, which is, my wife was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. And I thought that was the toughest job in the world. And that was her dream. And I made sure that was possible. So sometimes that meant 1, 2, 3, 4 jobs and all kinds of crazy schedules. That was my job. But the reality is, if you're a stay-at-home mom, everybody craps on you. And everyone acts like you don't do anything. Or isn't it nice that you have nothing but time on your hands, as if being a parent is not a full-time job. But then if you turn around and you go to work, everybody looks at you and says, oh, you're cheating your kids the connection. And, so moms get kind of the short end either way. And there is this thing, and I'm just going to say, it's easier on the dad side from the standpoint of, unfortunately, there's so many deadbeat dads that there's a lot of people who make it easy, or it seems to be not accepted, but less expected and less surprised. And so we don't hold men to the same standard, and we're doing society and children a disservice by that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
One of the things that I have uniquely experienced, well, it's probably not unique to many people, but I wasn't planning on going back to work. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and my life is blessed. And I've been able to. And the nature of my husband's job, I'm not a single parent, I'm a solo parent. I absolutely, everything falls on me. He is out the door before they wake up. He is back in the door after dinner, after homework, after everything. So essentially for me, I have been parenting my children for 20 years by myself. And the job that I have is because it was one that I came across and it worked. I work from home. I can work around, my hours or whatever. I can work around my kids. My company is amazing. They're family first, no questions asked, which does not happen. So I'm very, very thankful. But for 20 years, I have not had the pleasure of saying we are a dual income family. We can buy whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. I can, go on the expensive vacations and have the things that you have, and feel that judgment that I'm not providing for my family in a way that I should, because I'm just sitting around going to story time with my kids. And then I switch sides after my son goes to college, and I'm very proud of what I do for a living. I'm good at it. I love it. I love my coworkers. It brings me immense joy. I hesitate telling people I work because I'm scared that they're going to say, oh, well, why does she work? What happened?
Wow.
And
This
and
one.
I'm so quick, like when people say, how's work going? And I'll say, it's great. And I'll quickly change the subject
Right.
because I don't want to feel that judgment that I've missed something or I can't do something. This volunteer mom who's been room mom on every field trip, I've done every single thing. If there is something that I say to one of my kids, well, I've got to work, so I can't do that on that day, even though I've 20 years behind me of every time I said yes, that one no is killing me.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
That's the mom
So,
guilt. Yeah.
I think that guilt is, it's just so interesting and it's something I place on myself, but I do
Right.
think, and I hate to, throw women under the bus at all, but I think one of the reasons that it happens is because when men have an opinion about something, they really don't usually say anything, but women will definitely make that judgment. And they will, very quick to say, well, this is how I do something. And if you're not doing it in the exact same way, then you're doing something wrong. And I think that's a lot of that pressure is like, no matter what I say, it's going to be the wrong thing. And I just, I tend to quickly back out of a room when I feel like, okay, we're playing that compare game. So I'm just gonna back away. And it extends, it's the working mom versus stay-at-home mom, the organic mom versus the, store brand mom, whatever it is, it just, you've got those cores of people who are kind of judging the other side. And I think we need to let go of that a little bit and say, I was just talking to somebody the other day about the lengths that you go to in certain areas. And I said, well, you just tell them that you save the world in other ways, like that's your thing and that's great. And I'm happy for you. I save the world in a different way, but I still save the world just like you do.
Well, it's interesting that you said that because then I also look at Mina because our kids go to the same school. She has 3 kiddos. She works and then she's PTA. She does all the things. And every time I see her, I'm like, how do you do all of that? So it's like juggling everything too.
Right.
Like, how does that play into your world of you know?
I think it just I don't know if it's guilt and well it probably is guilt and I don't want to say it's guilt and it's also a way for I'm trying to find a mechanism to feel involved and understand what's going on with my kids' environment, and it's kind of it's almost like putting my time, like that is my job, right, as part of like school volunteering and such. To your, when I was listening to Jennifer, sorry, and just kind of like I have this I'm very self-conscious of how my kids are doing, what they, and in some ways, to be honest, what they look like in terms of like how they're behaving. Like I get self-conscious sometimes if they're kind of not behaving at a certain event or occasion, or are they progressing academically. And I had a friend just tell me, just like focus on your paper, like don't look at everybody else what they're doing, and don't you shouldn't feel like that like don't be so self-conscious about it. Just focus on your progress and your goals for your kids and your family and yourself, and try not to because that'll just break you down. It'll break you down, and it'll be passed on to your kids or whatever. It just kind of like intrinsically internalize, and then it'll just somehow come and manifest itself. So I try to remind myself of that. And I think that the guilt and just the time, wherever I can place my time is kind of where I do it. But I can't say I don't like when like marketing and things on TV and whatever else make things look very effortless. And it really drives me nuts because I feel like I wear like the same 3 t-shirts in a week and like same jeans. I tie my hair, I clip it. Like it just looks like a mess. And thank God I can work from home and like turn my video off sometimes. Like it's just it has to, I don't know. You just have to like just keep going and not care at the same time. Like just do what you got to do. But yeah, I certainly feel guilt, and I just wish that everyone would talk about things not looking so great more instead of
Yeah.
how it should look, or it should look so effortless or nice and pretty and fabulous. Like, I don't feel like it's like that most of the time, and I
Right.
don't feel like people talk about it enough. And between moms, even, it's hard. Like, sometimes moms kind of like do this artificial thing sometimes, and I really wish moms could be more real and talk about real things that they're going through. And that in itself is a vulnerability for a lot of women, right? And a lot of parents too, just to even open up themselves and say, this isn't working. That in itself, I think, is a challenge. But anyways, I digress. Yeah.
No, transparency is everything. And that's why we are really proud that you ladies came on to share your journey, because other women, other moms need to hear these stories, because you're helping someone that may be in your same situation and they don't know what to do. And like the Anne,
Yep,
her name,
Anne,
Anne,
yeah.
and you know, Jen, and what's the other
Oh, Lisa, yeah.
yeah. Well, when people hear that, even if it's one person, you may be saving someone's life just by sharing your story, and they're hearing, you know, wow, I can get out. You know, there is hope for me. Look at Anne, you know, and they can look at, I'm gonna say Jen because that's what I used to call you back then. Look at Jen, she's doing all these great things, and is it Mina? I keep saying Mina. Yeah, Mina. I mean, you ladies are exceptional, and I mean, you should be proud. And I'm just grateful that you came on, because, you know, who knows who's this going to affect? And I mean, someone is definitely taking this to their whatever journey it's in. They're going to use this story and to help themselves to get out of something.
And I think our biggest thing is like, we want to break these stigmas of like, we need to be everything, right? Because I think in a way, sometimes moms, we start losing our identity, like as a person, as a Jada or a Mina or no joke or Anne, like we because we are mom, and it takes over our mental capacity, our mental health, and it's like we're just trying to do the things that we need to do as parents, but then also trying to maintain who we are and be ourselves. And yeah, it looks a little bit different these days than, you know, pre-kids, and that's fine because we are amazing at what we do as mothers. But at the same time, it's like, you know, these societal things, we don't want to, the pressure shouldn't be natural and shouldn't be what we have to do because of society. Like, we have to be these certain things. And so I think, you know, I hope this discussion also is like opening up, like,
for more discussion down the road. I mean, down the road, let's all talk about menopause. How about that?
I would love that.
Not right now.
I said down the road. Let's talk about menopause. How about another session about that?
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of helping with that because, you know, I've had my cycle since I was 11 in 5th grade. And I went to the doctor last year and I was like, I'm so like emotional. I'm like, am I getting menopause? Like, I was excited because I'm like, can we end this? Like, it's 33 years. Can we end it now? Like, and she's like, no.
It's
Yeah,
it's so funny. My sons are, you know, both of them, you know, they're dating and they're trying to figure out women, and they're chatting with me about it. And I said, look, I said, women are such enormously magical creatures because there's maybe 2 or 3 days out of every month where we're absolutely normal. And then all of the other days, there's something trying to take us down hormonally. Like, women truly, it's, you know.
And don't get a bunch of us together.
You're up and you're down.
Up, and then you're getting multiples.
I coached young women for almost a decade. I can tell you, as a coach, when everybody links up, and there are times when I have to separate groups on purpose.
Yeah.
Look, you figure out where the
Everything
main
on the same cycle. Yeah.
Because your friend menopause coming.
and then what you do is you do little gift baskets of chocolate, and then you just throw that at them around that time, just like candy. Like give them a piñata, they can beat it with a bat. Candy will drop. They'll be happy. They'll get the aggression out. They'll get the chocolate. It'll be great.
That's right. I love all
I
of
love
that.
it. And the next day when they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's just my period. You're fine.
It's fine.
I'm fine."
You didn't see anything. You're good.
We don't know. I'm gonna
Yeah.
speak for men right now. We are lost. We are lost most of the time. I think it was really interesting listening to all you talk about kind of everybody had their own version of guilt. And I think that's much more a mom thing than I think it is a dad thing. And I think it's a societal thing because I think we put this competitive pressure. I also am struck as we talk about Mother's Day, like women have a power that men will never have. This species literally exists by women. And we don't give that enough credit as a society, but particularly as men. It's like, and if you watch, the truth is 85 to 90% of everything a man does is only to get a woman's attention anyway. Like most men couldn't care less. And I'll say this as a guy who used to be a stay-at-home dad, like people look at you funny when you're the dad carrying the kid by yourself, right? Like, and it's a very interesting dynamic because moms literally shape everything. The mom is the center of the home, and that's always true. You know, I always felt like that was so important for my kids. I think that's still, to me, I'm always like, did you talk to your mom? If something happened, you know, even with the limited involvement, like make sure she knows because she's always going to be your mom. There's some intuition there that I think is valuable. I think as we celebrate Mother's Day and we have this conversation, one of the things I want people to take from it for me is like, hear how much each one of you loves being a parent because it's the only role any of us will ever have that we're totally irreplaceable at.
That's so
That's
true.
great. Yep.
That's a fact.
Yep.
That's a
Yeah.
fact.
And they always say it takes a village. And if women are competing, what kind of village are we, where it's like, I'm against you and you're against me and, oh, you're not doing this right. Like our children are individual. We're teaching our children to be themselves. We are individuals. So to be cookie cutter and expect everybody to be just like us, like my kid was diagnosed with the failure to thrive. He was diagnosed with ADHD, like that he was like in the 8th percentile in weight and height. My child is in AP and GT classes, honors classes. He is getting like almost straight. He was getting almost straight A's. He is now 6'2" almost. Like I knew what my child could do, even what outside was telling me.
Right.
His limitations were, we know our children.
Yes.
And I think when we listen to all these like conditionings, and some of it's we were raised, we hear from other generations. I broke a generational curse by leaving my situation because I grew up in a very volatile a household with my dad. And so like for me, like this is a generational thing that I'm breaking. So my son doesn't get into that. I always said, I'm not raising a boy. I'm raising a man. He's going to be a father one day. He's going to be a husband to somebody one day. He's going to, be a man. And so I raised him with those, things and outlook. He's not going to be my little boy. I'm raising him to be a man that contributes to society, whatever way he chooses
Right.
Yeah.
in his own way. I don't expect him to be a doctor. I don't expect him to be this. I never put a limitation, like we would do different things. I would try Boy Scouts. I would try soccer, karate. Nothing really stuck with him until, he got into high school and then he was able to more choose what he wanted, but I would never force him to anything because I wanted him to try different things and find what he likes. And I think that's the thing is like, we're put all these conditions, like you need to have a man, a father needs to be, a father needs to be in there. A mother needs to do this. A mother needs to, work, but she also has to do this. And then she can't work. And it's like, well, each of us are different. You know, the skill sets that we have are different. The way that we think, the way that we process, and each of us how we're built, whether we're engineers, or you know, we're running our own business, or we're stay at home, or whatever we're doing, we are all very valid and we're good at what we do. Those are the gifts that we're given. And so we should use that in the best form and stop beating ourselves up and beating other women up for that. Instead, we should be supporting, like, yeah, girl, like, hey, you're a stay-at-home
No, you're
mom.
so right. Yeah.
I can't make the outfit for my kids' theater thing. Can you help me out? Like, you know, like, hey, I can do something for you. I got this skill set. So let me help you. You know, that's why I say it takes a village, and we can't be a village and help each other and grow and become stronger women if we're competing.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Sure.
I think it's really super important, and I love platforms like this. I love, you know, one of the good things about your podcast is that you really truly do cover a variety of topics. And it's not just singularly focused. And one of the things that I have learned about myself is that in my journey from, you know, I wanted to be a mom, and then I had this other, and what else? What else do I want to be? And I think for men, that's a little bit more easy, or at least for some men, it's easier because they just have to figure out that career path. Fatherhood may come, may not come, but they don't have to make that big decision that women have to make. And you're like, okay, I'm a mom, but then what else? And what I discovered about myself is that my what else is, if there is something in my toolbox that I know how to do, that I can share with you to make your life easier or your life better, or make you feel like you're not the only person, that I'm going to share that tool. And the more we talk about things, the more people share those tools. I am an open book. I talk about my chronic illness. I talk about the struggles that my kids have, you know, going through being just teenagers, and the emotions that you're going through, and learning how to figure that out, and being financially stable, because sometimes that's not easy. And I've been in situations where it wasn't easy for us. We were 24 when when we started, so we had nothing. And that was a struggle. So if there's something there that I can share with someone else to make your life a little bit easier, your day a little better, then I absolutely want to share. And when you have platforms like this, just keep talking, just keep talking, just keep talking, because you never know who's listening.
That's
And
right.
you never know that one little thing that person's going to take home and say, yep, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that one thing. And that one thing is going to change what I've been struggling with.
That's true. I agree.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Mina, anything else to add? Everybody had their great final remarks.
You know, I think that motherhood is, you know, through all its like, there are so many different experiences, and I really, you know, as much as I can complain about and have my strife about my experience, you know, mothers are struggling to even, you know, stretch their diapers and afford things for their kids and stuff. So I feel like, it's inequitable in so many different areas, and I wish that our system can make it easier, in some way possible. And I feel like when we talk about it more, and we talk about more of our mental load, and, you know, actually put, if we have to, like, a price tag to what this mental load is, to say what's the sacrifice when we take this mental load from mothers, from parents, and what does that do to children. I feel like we understand it when there's like a dollar value to it. I don't know if we've actually done it, and what does that do to generations, you know, after us. And so how can we make this better so that children are not growing up where parents are not available or not around, or dealing with like 1,000 things. What can the system do, or, you know, what can our officials do, or what can our economic, you know, what can this like economic system do for us a bit better so that this is a little easier. You know, so and I think that these forums do provide this to talk about it. And I think more talking just really puts things on the agenda more to share.
No, I love that. I think thank you, ladies, so much for joining us.
Yes.
And literally, we're gonna definitely have you back because I feel like we have other stories to share. What did you say?
I said menopause session.
No,
I
but
heard her.
also
Yeah.
like a lot of,
I'll
but
be
I
there.
think there's more of a part two
Yes.
to this because
Yeah.
we just have so much to talk about, and
Right.
we have a lot to bring. And mothers are powerful, and we're amazing, and we kick ass. And I'm saying that because this one's right here next to me. Anyway, thank you all.
Yeah.
For joining
It was
us.
good to see everybody.
Yes,
Good to
it's good to
see
hear fresh
you.
perspectives, and I'm very happy that you guys were able to share. And as always, at Lovesick Podcast, we have
Thank
great
you.
stories, and
Yes.
we have talked to amazing people. And thank you for joining us. We're trying something different today, where we're trying to have a couple forums here and there with people, and we love it. And thank you, ladies, and Michael.
And have a good night because we know
Thank
it's
You're a
late
brave
for
guy.
Coast.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
so much. I do know it's late, and I appreciate
Yeah.
you guys joining us, but also just thank you for taking your time. And so we're here.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mom.
Have a good
Happy
night.
Mother's
Night.
Day.
Happy
And
Mother's
listen,
Day.
Happy
talk to
Mother's
me.
Day, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
happy
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Mother's Day too, Michael, because you're doing both.
Yeah.
So
Happy Mother's Day to all of you. It's nice to see kids in such beautiful hands.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. And continue blessings to each and every one of you.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good one.
Night.
Bye.
Thank you all so much. And thank you. I feel like everybody had a great.
Oh, they had
It
a
was
lot,
a
a lot to
good
say, a lot of
story.
great things to
I
say.
think we need to do a part 2 sometime.
That was
good.
that was really interesting.
Beautiful to hear everybody's different journey, and it was captivating to listen to. I think this is a thing moms struggle with is moms have this. I heard the word guilt and shame again and again and again.
Right.
And moms give so much, it breaks my heart to hear moms talk about guilt and shame when often they're already inherently selfless.
Right.
And we didn't really talk about it, but for all those women who have struggled or fought to become a mom, and that's been a real struggle or a journey, and we've talked about that on the show as well.
Yeah.
I hope that people will leave some comments below, share your message or maybe the thing that struck you out of this, and maybe continue that conversation or that message. Extend some love and support to those who came on tonight and kind of were willing to share and open up that discussion. And just so thankful to have everybody be a part of this journey.
Yeah, I think it's a great bonus episode and can't wait to see it. And for all of the mothers and dads out there, happy Mother's Day.
And as a mom, I totally appreciate everybody sharing their story because a lot of the stuff resonates with me also. And I, I'm glad we were able to extend our show to celebrate moms and do all this for Mother's Day. And, we should be celebrated all the time.
Yeah.
But you know what? The platform right now, this is what we're giving. And that's it.
Always, because none of us can be here without a mom.
Right. That's
it.
right. I like that on that note.
Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. And, we're here. Lovesick Podcast.
Thank you.